Greetings. So something potentially fatal happened a few days ago. I am not going to go into detail about the issue in this video for a number of reasons. Instead, I will leave some links in the description if you are interested. I am more concerned about the reactions to this from all sides. First of all, we have Taiga, who did this to achieve his goals, which he clearly couldn't, even though his action could have ended those as we know it. Second, we have the mappers, those would rather risk Osis Elliot Rogers to go full Isla Vista on the game, rather than being a bit more respectful towards the community, and tone down ranking their controversial map sets for a while. Then there are people those support either one side or another. More interestingly, a huge amount of players, those were deeply displeased with the ringtone-sized jump practice maps, suddenly changed sides. It's very disappointing that people drop their convictions just because something potentially worse happened. No, don't support the DMCA guide, that's not what I'm saying. Don't support either side, because this is just all childish rubbish and could potentially end the game in its current state. What I'm saying is that shilling Despacito now is just supporting one evil over another. Peppy asked Sotarks in a private mail to deal with the situation respectfully, so what did he and the other mappers do? They got real stats on to cover the song, which is very much in the grey zone in terms of copyright infringement, and they plan to rank it anyway. God damn it, that's not respectful at all! As of writing the script right now, the map is still not qualified, so things may unfold differently. But ranking the map in a childish defiance does not serve the game positively at all. I've talked about this in some of my previous videos, but ranking maps shouldn't be about self-gratification, but rather giving something positive to the community. As long as that mentality is unchanged, the ranking section will be littered with low-effort, mass-produced PP maps. But anyway, let's go back to discuss how fickle the community is. The map went from one of the most hated maps to one of the most liked ones without any significant change. It kind of proved how easy it is to manipulate the player base. Some of you just succumb to the mob mentality too easily. Memes over integrity. The only thing the player base cares about is to collectively love or hate something. You just need to provide them a suitable scapegoat. No wonder previous mapping villains could get away with worse shit back in 2016 and 17. Certain part of the player's base is effectively a herd of sheep. Guess the community veto thing really wouldn't work, because the mappers could just appeal to your tribal instincts that drive you to love or hate something, anything, with some minor manipulation. I might be falling into the same mistake as others, those only see a loud minority, championing this map as the best thing since Miss You. I really hope I'm just a victim of these memes and I just don't get it. But let's get serious for a bit. In reality, this whole DMCA thing wouldn't have happened if the main player base had a tangible way to influence what kind of maps get ranked. Right now we can do nothing apart from becoming the part of the system, but you would need to climb pretty high to be able to truly influence the ranking process. Let's say these people became BNs to push maps they perceive as good into the rankings. But that still does not fix the issue of mass-produced PP maps getting ranked against the wishes of the community. The people trying to change mapping for the better would have wasted hundreds of hours without actually achieving their goals. The problem for players isn't the lack of good maps getting ranked, because there are plenty of them. The problem is mass-produced PP maps getting ranked en masse, which the players have to play in order to stay competitive. It's disappointing to see mappers advising players to get into mapping if they want to change it so much, full knowing that it would amount to nothing. To be fair, the community veto wouldn't have been such a drastic measure, because it is really hard to get that many people to vote against a map without inciting just as many to vote for it. The mappers those are scared of the proposal are pretty much just afraid of the notion that they could be scrutinized by non-mappers during the ranking process, which would be a pretty fair thing, since at the end of the day, the players will be the ones to play the maps once they get ranked. But without clear and straightforward ways to influence mapping, some players were bound to end up doing something drastic. As much as I think this whole DMCA thing is despicable, I can't help but to sympathize with Tiger. His evilness is a product of the disingenuous and arguably equally evil actions of a handful of mappers, and the system's inability to prevent such behavior. However, since Tygoon's terroristic measure is potentially more damaging, the community will put the target on a pedestal, completely forgetting that that kind of behavior is almost equally as damaging. Don't kid yourselves, both sides of this story is as morally bankrupt as it can get. There are no heroes or anti-heroes in this story, only villains and anti-villains. If Oz doesn't change its trajectory pretty soon, I'm afraid we won't have a lot of time ahead of us. Top players burn out from Oz faster than ever. All the top players you love may end up leaving Oz pretty soon, either because they just can't enjoy competitive maps anymore, or because of all the Oz terrorism that will engulf the game as a response to the situation. You can call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but every month there are at least a couple of high-ranking players announcing their retirement because they just don't enjoy the game anymore. The player base has been getting increasingly casual the past couple of years, because the endgame is just so off-putting. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being casual, but you have to admit, if you were around before 2015, that the community was more tight-knit and invested in the game than we are now. So, what do you think? Do you think this is blown out of proportion? Or do you think I should stop being so pessimistic? Let me know down in the comments. I'm sure you do.